We are going Italian in the sartorial kitchen once again, and today it is all about braciole. Beef braciole, that is, served over a bed of garlic mashed potatoes and served with a luscious red wine tomato sauce. Doesn't that sound delicious? And lastly, for dessert, it is my no-churn mascarpone ice cream topped with rosemary caramel apples. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me? Alright, welcome back to the kitchen, everybody. And yes, we are doing braciole today, if you didn't get that from the title. But I'm going to do things a little different. I'm going to start with dessert. We are doing a no-churn ice cream, and this needs time to sit in my freezer before we move on to the rest of our meal. So I've got just 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. Now you're probably thinking, what is no-churn ice cream? Well, this is great. It's you get that luscious velvety texture like a vanilla ice cream, but you don't have to mess with tempering the eggs and making the anglaise and having it churn for hours. This is really just a really simple, delicious dessert. And I'm going to be sauteing some apples later to go on top. It's going to be so good, you guys. Okay, so that is just 1 can of the condensed milk. Now, I'm going to add something a little different here. I've got some mascarpone here. I love mascarpone. It's like an Italian cream cheese. It's a little more on the sweet side than a traditional cream cheese, but then you still have that kind of tartness. And I'm going to do just half of this container here. I'm going to save the other half for our potatoes later. So yeah, just half of that container right into the bowl. I've also got some vanilla here. I'm going to do about a teaspoon of vanilla. And I've got some almond. I'm going to do just about a 1/4 teaspoon of almond. Almond's a little strong, so you don't need as much of the almond. I just want to get a little bit of that hint. I think it's going to play nicely with the apples and the cheese in here. And then sugar, of course. You need about 2 tablespoons of sugar. Just kind of eyeball that. And then I've got my handy dandy hand mixer here, which is going to make quick work of this. You can mix it by hand if you want, but it doesn't matter. It's just easier this way with the cheese and everything in it. And just on a low heat, I'm going to come in here, get that a good mix. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, you want it a little stiff, but not too stiff. I think that's good. And then I'm just going to get some plastic wrap here. I'm going to wrap this baby up and stick it in my chiller downstairs. And we'll move on to the main course. See you guys in a second. Alright, we are back. My no-churn is in the deep freeze. Right now I'm moving on to the filling for my braciole here. I've got some bread. This is the sourdough left over from a few episodes back. And it's gotten kind of stale, which is great because we're going to use it to make breadcrumbs here. And I'm just breaking these into smaller pieces to make easier work for the food processor here. And you can hear that texture. That's what we want. It's, stale bread is much better for breadcrumbs than fresh bread. Now you can use store-bought breadcrumbs. That's just fine. The Italian season is good for this. But I wanted to get a little fancy here today. I've got some fresh herbs. They're going to go in here as well. I'm just going to give them a rough chop. I've got some parsley here to start with, Italian flat leaf parsley. And I'm just going to give that a rough dice, just back and forth. You don't need to chop it too finely because the food processor is going to do a lot of that for us. So that is my parsley. I have some basil here. Now the basil, I'm going to take the leaves off the stem here. And the leaves we're just going to kind of roll up. Roll up just like that, and then I'm going to come in here with my knife and just give that a nice chop all the way across. That goes right in. And that's just a few tablespoons each. And then I also have some thyme here. And those I'm just going to come and pull that right off the stem. The stem is not really edible, so you want to remove it from the stem. And I wish you could smell this. It smells amazing, all these fresh herbs. Very fragrant. It's going to make a nice filling for our beef braciole. Alright, that is good. Get rid of this guy. I'm serving this today with a garlic parmesan mash. I've already got my potatoes going there in the pot. These are just baby reds I'm going to use. I like the baby reds because they cook better and they mash better. And I always I start my potatoes in cold water so it cooks evenly through. And I'm just going to throw some salt in here. A couple teaspoons of salt. That's gonna the salt's gonna, for one, it's gonna help tenderize potatoes from outside in, and it's also going to flavor it throughout. Now I've just got a lemon here. I'm going to zest this lemon. Part of it is going to go here into my filling, and then the rest I'm going to save for my dessert later. So I want to get that whole lemon. And then I've got my skillet ready. I've got a couple tablespoons of oil in there, and that's just gonna help get our topping nice and crispy. Okay, that is my lemon. I'm gonna set that aside for now. About half of this is going to go in here. I like the lemon zest because it's nice and fragrant and acidic, and it's going to give it's going to really brighten up everything we have going on in here. I'm just going to rinse my hands real quick. I'm going to save the rest of the zest. I'm just going to kind of scoop up there and save for later. And last but not least, I've got a cup of grated Parmesan. That's going to go right in as well. And then we're just going to give this a pulse. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. You can see it's nice and mealy, but it has that texture to it. You get that lovely hint of green from the fresh herbs. Beautiful. Alright, so I'm going to take this, get rid of our blade here, and I'm just going to dump this right in. And I got the skillet on a low heat. I don't want to burn the filling. I just want to give it a nice toast. It's going to add another layer of flavor to our braciole. And also the cheese in here is going to get kind of nice and bubbly, and it's going to help our filling kind of stick together so it stays in place when we go to assemble our meal. Now to this I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of pepper. And I may need just a little more oil here. The bread likes to drink the oil. just a couple more tablespoons of oil. Water is starting to boil on my potatoes. Those will be good. Once the water boils, they only take about 10 to 12 minutes or so. And I just like to poke them with a knife. If the knife goes in easy and comes out easy, then you know they're done. I'm just going to let these cook down. Okay, our filling is ready. It is nice and toasty. I'm just going to break it up a little here. And we are ready to assemble. I've got my beef here. Just nice little shavings. I had the butcher take care of me here. And I've got, yeah, there should be 4 here. Perfect. Actually, yeah. One more. There we go. Nice cut of beef. Now, braciole, you can do, it's just a stuffed meat dish. You can do pork. Beef and pork are traditional. I've seen lamb, I've seen chicken. You know, whatever you like. But you want a nice thin cut of meat so it cooks through. Okay, so to this, I'm going to take some of my breadcrumb mixture here, and I hope you can see that. Doesn't that just look amazing? And we're going to spread that out. Just a nice thin layer. And one more. Now I've got some filling left here. I'm just going to save that for another day. Okay, that is our filling. I also have some pancetta here. I just let this render down in my toaster oven. It's gotten nice and crispy and cooked through. Pancetta is just an Italian bacon. Has a nice kind of salty note to it. I'm just going to lay one piece on each here. We're going to turn this skillet back on here on a low heat. Delicious. Okay. Love pancetta. Those nice fatty notes, salty, delicious. We need some more oil in here. My potatoes are looking pretty good too. So I think I'm going to turn this down just a hair. Yeah. Yeah, those are starting to get nice and tender. Beautiful. Okay. So basically we're going to roll these up. I have some toothpicks to help them keep their shape. And then we're just going to sear them off in the skillet. And then we're going to finish it off with a luscious tomato sauce. And I'm going to start at the end with the pancetta. And I'm just going to roll it up. And then we're going to stick a toothpick right through here so it holds its shape. And then we'll come in here and get the next guy. Alright, I'm going to give these guys a flip. My potatoes have come out. I drained the water. I've got them back on a low heat. I just threw in a cup of heavy cream. I'm going to do the rest of this mascarpone here. The rest of that container. I also have some garlic paste here. I know I usually use the jarred garlic for minced, but I don't want those pieces on my potatoes, so I'm going to squirt in about a teaspoon there of the garlic paste, teaspoon and a half. It would not be Parmesan potatoes without some more Parmesan. I'm going to toss that right in. We need a little more salt, about a teaspoon more salt. The Parmesan is a little salty, so you don't need as much salt. and then about a teaspoon of black pepper. Alright, these guys are sizzling away nicely. We're going to give them another turn here. We want to get all sides of this. We want that meat to cook through. Okay. I'm going to turn that heat down just a little. I've got my pan here so they're ready to roast. Alright, I got my potato masher out. I'm just going to come in here. And these potatoes are nice and soft, so they mash right up. It's also a good way to get your arm workout in. And I love it. You get the heavy cream and all the cheeses and the garlic, and yeah, these potatoes should just get nice and soft and velvety. They're gonna have a little texture to them still. I've left the skin on, and I'm not gonna like completely pulverize them. I like them to have somewhat of a texture to them. Alright, those are starting to look good. I'm gonna take this off the heat and let them rest. They should be nice and cooked through. And you can just see I got a beautiful crust on those. It's gonna be so good. Okay, now we've got some lovely little brown bits in here that I am going to use to start our sauce. So I've just got a little bit of red wine here. This is from my uncle's farm down in Lexington. Hammond Farms. They have their own winery and vineyard. And I'm just going to do about 1/4 cup. We're going to take our spoon here and just scrape into that pan and get all those bits up, all those crusty bits. And that wine, I'm just going to let that wine reduce a little bit, and then I'm going to, I've got some tomato paste and some more garlic and some more of that garlic paste, and it's just going to be a luscious little lovely sauce. And while that reduces, I'm going to continue to work on my potatoes here. I love the smell of wine, and you can just smell that reducing. But you want that alcohol to cook out. That's not going to be a good time. These potatoes look good. I do believe, yes. You can see those potatoes are nice and thick and creamy. I'm going to go ahead and take those off the heat. Kind of clean up a little bit. My red wine is reducing nicely. I've got some tomato paste here, and I'm just going to squirt in about a couple tablespoons of the tomato paste. Oops. And I've got some more of that garlic, about a teaspoon of the garlic, and I've got just a couple sprigs more of that thyme from earlier. I'm just going to shred that right in here, making sure I just get the leaves and not the stems, and give this a stir. Nice. We just want that tomato paste to come to temp. It's going to meld nicely with the red wine that's been reducing. Alright, I've got my plate. Got my potatoes. They look amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm just gonna come in here with a spoon. I'm gonna get some of these potatoes. Garlic mash. Make a little divot here. Now let's watch for our toothpicks. I'm just gonna set this baby right on top. And then I'm just going to spoon some of that sauce right over everything. Yum. Amazing. Alright, I need a fork. Does that not look like an Italian feast or what? I just want to try a little of the potatoes first. Mmm. Oh, yum. They're velvety. You still have a little texture. Mmm. You get a little sweet note from the mascarpone, the garlic. Mmm, just the right amount of salt and pepper. Oh, just melts in your mouth. And then let's cut into our braciole here. This is almost a knife and fork meal. And I love it. That meat is nice and tender. My fork goes just right through it. And get a little, make sure we get some of that sauce as well. Mmm. Mmm. Amazing. Mmm. Mmm. I love the play of the beef with the pancetta. You get a nice salty note. That filling is just spectacular. The lemon gives it a nice brightness. All those fresh herbs. Mmm. Absolutely amazing, guys. Okay, I'm gonna finish up here. We're going to move on to the rest of our dessert. Okay, guys, we are back. We're moving on to our dessert now. I just peeled 2 apples here. These are Granny Smith apples. I'm making a fun little apple topping for our ice cream. It's going to have some rosemary in it, and it's going to be like caramelized. I know you're thinking, rosemary, what? Sometimes it's fun to throw some savory herbs into a dessert. And you guys are going to flip. Okay, now I'm just going to cut down here around the core. We don't want the seeds and all that hardness. And I like the Granny Smith apple. I like that it's a little tart, so it's not going to be like overly sweet. And I'm just coming in long ways and then across. I want nice little diced pieces. You can do whatever you like. You want to leave them sliced or, however. And I got my pan going here. I need about half a stick of butter. I'm just going to chop that up. That's going to go right in here. And this will go in my butter dish for later. My other apple here, again, just coming down, trying to avoid the middle, just getting all that goodness on the outside. Turn that down to a medium heat. We don't want our butter to burn. Alright, I've got the rest of my lemon zest here that I saved from earlier. That's going to go in. It's going to give it a nice fresh kind of floral note. And then I'm going to cut this lemon in half and just give it a little squeeze over my apples here. That's going to keep them from turning brown on us. I want the brown to be from our caramel, not our apples. Okay, and we'll set that aside. Alright, butter looks good. Coming here to my brown sugar. And I'm just going to, there's not much in this container, so I'm just going to get and pour this out. I just need about a half cup of brown sugar. I also need a little vanilla here. About a teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to give that a nice stir. Stir that brown sugar. We don't want it to burn either. Awesome. I'm gonna throw in my lemon zest. This is gonna give it a nice bright note, so it's not too cloyingly sweet. You'll have the lemon to kind of break that up, and just a little salt, about a half teaspoon of salt. I like salt and caramel together. And our apples are going to go right in to this mixture. And you can smell that butter and that brown sugar. Oh, they go together like peas and carrots, guys. And I'm just going to let these apples go. Turn this to a low heat. And I'm going to let those apples stew in our sauce until they get nice and soft and tender. Apples are starting to stew down nicely. I'm just going to take some fresh rosemary here. I'm going to leave it on the stem. I'm just going to kind of rub it between my hands a little bit just to kind of release some of those oils. And I'm going to leave it on the stem. I don't want it in my sauce, I just want the flavor of it. And you can smell that rosemary as you go at it. And you release those oils. And I'm going to drop that whole sprig in the caramel. I'm going to kind of stir this around a little bit. What's going to happen is that rosemary is going to wilt in the caramel, and it's going to add a nice savory note to those apples. And I'm just going to let this go for a little bit, let those apples continue to tenderize, and we will be ready for dessert. Alright everybody, you can see that our apples are nice and soft, and that caramel is getting nice and thick. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this baby off. I'm going to fish out the rosemary here. And I wish you guys were with me because this smells absolutely amazing. That rosemary, yum. I'm just going to fish it out here. And you can see the leaves have wilted beautifully. And we have a couple stragglers here. Whoops. Alright, I'm going to grab my ice cream and we will be ready to go. Okay, I've got a bowl, I've got a spoon, and I've got my ice cream mix here. I've just got my scoop. You can see it is nice and thick and luscious. I'm just going to scoop some of this out. It's almost like a creamy whip. It's not real, like real hard, like on the ice cream you get from the store. But it is delicious, guys, I'm telling you what. And I took my apples off the heat. I'm just letting them kind of chill out. I don't want them too hot because it's going to melt my ice cream. But they, oh my gosh, yum. I'm just going to spoon some of that right in the middle there. Get a little bit of this caramel. And that rosemary, I'm telling you what, you can smell it. When it bakes down in the brown sugar like that, you almost get that hint of like those like fall spices. Yum. Ah, does that not look delicious or what? I'm just gonna come in here. Oh, yum. Those apples are nice and soft. I get a little acidity from the lemon and the Granny Smith. Yum. Brown sugar and butter. Just enough to not make it too sweet, because the ice cream's already sweet. Apples can be a little sweet. So it's nice to have that rosemary in there, because you get a nice little hint of like something else. It just kind of lingers on the palate. Oh, absolutely amazing, you guys. So once again, I thank you for dining with me. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit.